Good evening. Yes, Anuj Kumar. Good evening. Yes. Gauri. Good evening. Yes. Yes. Raj Kiran. Yes. Good evening, everybody. Am I audible? So Ramya. Good evening. Sushant. Yes. Good evening, everybody. Lakshmi. Good evening. Rakesh Reddy. Good evening. Yes. So what we saw yesterday. So yesterday I was discussing with you about single line comments and multi-line comments. So I just gave a brief introduction to comments. So what do you mean by a single line comment and what do you mean by a multi-line comment? So anybody can tell me what do you mean by a single line comment and what do you mean by a multi-line comment?
Yes.
Please respond. So what do you mean by a single line comment and what do you mean by a multi-line comment? Can you respond? Yes, you need to pay. So if you are interested, you can go to Pantech e-learning and you can register for Java Programming Internship Program, JPMC. This is the coupon code. So once you register for the internship, so you'll be getting access to the PPT, the lecture notes, how the projects are being developed. So you'll be gaining more practical knowledge. And the attendance link will be posted during the live chat. So you have to fill in the attendance link. So minimum 25 days attendance is mandatory in order to receive the webinar certificate and you need to pay rupees 100. And the internship users, they will be receiving the webinar certificate as well as the internship certificate. Here, yes, we consider single, it is prepended by 2/. Yes. Yes, you have to pay rupees 100 in order to receive the webinar certificate. So if you are interested, you can go to this link. So you can go to Pantech e-learning and you can register for Java Programming Internship Program, JPMC. This is the coupon code. So once you register for the internship, so you'll be getting access to the lecture notes, the PPTs, the recorded videos, so how the projects are being developed. So you'll be gaining more practical knowledge. So once you register for the internship, so you'll be receiving, so you have to attend this masterclass for minimum 25 days in order to receive the webinar certificate and you have to pay rupees 100. And the internship users, they'll be receiving the webinar certificate as well as the internship certificate. Multi-line comments, multiple lines, and one more type of comments. I discussed with you about one more type of comments, right? So what is that? Single line comment, multi-line comment, and then I discussed with you about one more type of comment. So what is that comment? It is called as documentation comment. So I discussed with you about 3 different types of comments. Voice is audible. I'm actually shouting. I'm typically shouting. So my voice is audible. Yes. So documentation comments. So if I want to know an elaborate description about what all the different classes used in my program, what all the different methods used in my program, so I can go for this kind of documentation comment. Here. So if you are interested, you can go to Pantech e-learning and you can register for Java Programming Internship Program. Alright, so JPMC, this is the coupon code. So once you are going to travel with me for this 30 days masterclass, so I will be teaching you the core Java concepts. What do you mean by, I just gave an introduction, the installation steps, and then I discussed with you about variables, data types, and then I gave you some simple examples. So yesterday I started with comments. So what do you mean by a single line comment, and what do you mean by a multi-line comment and documentation comment? So based on my requirement, I can go for different types of comments. So comments play a very important step. So it improves the readability of the entire program. So you'll be getting an idea about the Java concepts. So what are all the different OOPS concept? What do you mean by inheritance, overloading, overriding, and JDBC? How to connect Java with the database, JDBC connectivity. And finally, I'll be discussing with you about 10 projects. So what are all the different types of projects? So I'll be discussing with you about 10 projects. Clear? So with this, so till this part, so everything is clear. So you are not able to install. Yes, if you have any Rukmani, if you have any problem regarding the installation, so you can just send me the error screenshot, or we can connect through any desk and let me see what all the different errors you are getting. Clear? Alright then. So with this, I am just starting today. So I just gave an introduction to Java programming. So I am just going to start. So what are all the different components? What are all the why we have to go for this language? Applications of Java. So what are all the different types of applications that can be developed using this Java language? IoT applications. So I just gave an introduction to variables, data types, identifiers. So today I am going to discuss classes and objects. So everything hereafter, whenever I am going to talk with you, so everything is going to be based on classes and objects. So today I am going to discuss with you about loops. So what do you mean by a looping statement? So yesterday I discussed with you about different types of comments. So today I am just going to discuss with you about loops. So what are all the different types of loops? So what do you mean by a looping statement? So all this comes under important Java concepts. So what do you mean by a looping statement? So it is nothing but, so it is when we want a collection of statements, a group of statements to be executed for a fixed number of times, then it is called as a loop statement. Clear? So whenever I want a piece of code, a set of instructions to be repeated for a given number of times, so I can go for a looping statement, an iterator kind of a thing. So I want to fetch all the employee records. Say for example, I am saving the employee records in the database. So you can imagine any website. So I am having different modules in my database. So when you consider a website, so you can imagine, so what are all the different fields that are available in a website, e-commerce website, or you can go for an employee website. So I am developing a small software for some organization. So it is going to contain an employee detail. So I have to fill in, an employee has to come in. So he need to fill in the profile. So what is the name of the employee? So what is the age? What is the gender, date of birth? What is his designation? So everything, to which department he belongs to, and he needs to click the save button. Say for example, you can go for a website. So you can imagine, or you can imagine any other type of websites. So in an e-commerce website, a customer login will be there and a vendor login will be there. So I want to save the details, or I want to make some updations. I want to fetch some records and I have to display at the JSP page, the front end. So I can go for a looping statement. So in such scenarios, I can go for a looping statement. So why I have to execute a set of instructions? So based on my application, so based on my requirements, so I can go for a loop statement. So clear? So what do you mean by a loop statement? Say for example, I am filling an employee detail. So this is how my employee detail looks like. So there is a page called employee details page. Say for example, this is how my employee details page looks like. Say for example, employee details. So it is going to contain a name field. So what is the name of an employee? And what is the age of an employee? So each and every department, it is going to contain the following fields. So when I consider the front end, JSP, Java server pages, so you can imagine an employee portal. So in any organization, so you need to register the employee details. So you need to collect the employee details and you should be stored in the database for future reference. So if any new employee is joining an organization, or if he is going to leave the organization, so all this information should be stored in the database for future reference. So I'm going to store the employee details. So what is the name of the employee? So what is the age of an employee? To which department he belongs to. Say for example, there are different departments in an organization. To which department he belongs to. And what is the gender of an employee, whether he is a male employee or a female employee. So I want to collect the employee details, designation. So I am collecting all my details. So I want to give the correct designation. So I am giving all these details. So all these are the required fields that are available in my employee page. And then I need to click the save button. So there is an option called save button. So once I have to save all these details in the database, so I'm going to get all these records in the front end. So there will be different modules. So in an organization, you can imagine, say for example, you are a part of a small company or an organization. So it is going to contain an employee login module. So it is going to contain the employee details. And what are all the other type of details? So I want to store the employee details, or I want to delete, or I want to update. So I can go for a looping statement. So I am collecting all the employee details and I need to process in the servlet. So the business logic happens in the servlet. So it is going to get the client request and it is going to give the corresponding response to the front end, that is the JSP page. So I need to get all these records. So from the front end, so from the JSP page, so using a loop statement, so I can put it through an iterator. So what are all the different fields? So I less than length. So I need to fetch all these records and it should be stored in the database. So I am writing a method called save button. So what are all the details I am receiving from the front end? So I am going for a loop statement. So how many records are there? Say for example, here I have 5 fields. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So I can go for a for loop. So I have to increment this. Clear? So what is the use of loop statement? So in order to reduce the code size, so instead of calling the save button, instead of calling the database again and again, so once I put it in a loop statement, so it is going to fetch the records and I am going to store all the records in a database. Clear? So what is the use of this kind of looping statement? So whenever I have any repeated instruction, so whenever I want to perform some repetitive action, a cyclic action or an iterator. Clear? In different languages, you call it as a loop statement or you can call it as an iterator. So everything is going to perform the same action, same functionality. So whenever I want to perform some repeated action, repeated task, I can go for a looping statement. So I can put it in a for loop. Clear? So what is the use of this for loop? So it results in the reduction of code size. So imagine thousands of employees or lakhs of employees are there in an organization. In a small organization, so you can imagine thousands, or in a bigger organization, you can imagine lakhs of employees. So everything, so instead of calling the database again and again, so I can collect the employee details from my front end. So I can put it in a for loop and everything will be saved securely in the database. So I can call the save method once. So what are all the employee details I am fetching? So everything I am putting in a for loop. So I can initialize. So it is going to iterate. So it is going to get the value of each and every field and it will be saved in the database. So once I hit the save button, so this action is going to happen. So form request. So in the servlet, I am going to receive the form request. So I am going to put it in a for loop, an iterator. So it is going to loop through the records. So what are all the employee details? So you can imagine I can go for an employee detail, or you can imagine whatever website, or in an e-commerce website, I want to store the customer details. Or I want to view, for example, what are all the, you can imagine Amazon or Flipkart. So many other websites are available. So for example, what are all the different actions a user or a customer is going to perform? Say for example, he want to view what are all the products that are available. So I can go for a for loop. So I can fetch. So once he is going to hit view product or display product button, so he needs to get a list of all the products. Or what are all the different categories available in an e-commerce store. Say for example, he want to view what are all the products available in the electronic section, or cosmetic section, or textile, or groceries. Clear? So just imagine any kind of situation. So why we have to go for this kind of a looping statement? So there are different functionalities available in Java. So why we have to go for this kind of a looping statement? So based on my requirement, so I can go for this kind of a looping statement. Clear? So it results in the redundancy, that is redundant codes can be removed, repetitive action. So instead of writing the same code again and again, I can just put it in a loop iterator and I am just going to receive all my records and I am going to save in the database, securely in the database. Clear? So this is one example. So this is the syntax for using a for loop. So for is the keyword. So I am just initializing my variable. Say for example int I equal to 0. So first I need to start from the 0th record and I am giving I less than 10. So if there are 10 records, so if I want to store the 10 fields, so I can give I less than 10 and I plus plus. I am incrementing value of I, that is the control variable. So this is how the initialization step. So this is the syntax of a for loop. First, whatever variable, the iterator, the controller. So why it is called as a control variable, an iterator variable or a control variable. So why it is called as a control variable? So it is going to control the number of times a loop should execute. Clear? So how many times the same statement should be repeated. So it is called as a control variable, an iterator variable or a control variable. So whatever you can call. So I can call this as an iterator variable or you can call this as a control variable. So it controls the number of times the statements should be executed. Clear? So first I need to initialize the control variable. So whatever is the control variable, so first I need to initialize the control variable. So this is the syntax for keyword. So within simple bracket, so first I need to initialize this control variable, semicolon, and then I have to check for a condition. So the conditional statement, so how many times the same statement should be repeated. So you can imagine, so based on number of products that are available or the number of categories, or I want to save the customer details or the employee details. So how many text boxes I have. So based on the number of fields, I can use this checking condition. Say for example, I have 5 fields, I can give I less than 5. And the last section in my for loop is an incrementation section. So I have to increment. So each and every time it is going to perform some action. So you can consider the employee portal. So what are the name of an employee? So what is the gender of an employee? What is the age of an employee? So I am going to receive different details. So one by one I am going to execute. I am going to get with the help of control variable and I am going to print this. Clear? So this is the main use or an advantage of a for loop. So what is the main advantage of a for loop? So instead of executing, so each and every time, so I am going to fetch and I am going to save. So I am going to fetch all the records. I am going to put it to a control variable or an iterator. So I am going to fetch each and every record and I am going to save all the records at a time. So everything will be saved in the database. Clear with this? So what is the use of a for loop? So basically I have 3 different types of loops in Java. The first kind of loop is the for loop. The second kind of loop is the while loop. And the third type of loop is the do while loop. So basically I have 3 different types of loops available in Java. So I have a for loop, so I have a while loop and I have a do while loop. So all these 3 are the different types in Java. So based on my requirement I can go. Clear? So if I know how many times, fixed number of. So clear buffering. So now it is audible. So I am having some unstable internet connection. So now buffering is cleared. So clear with this. So what is the use of this kind of a for loop? So now my buffering, so now it is stable. Am I audible? Alright, so this is the main use of a for loop. So whenever I want to store some employee record, so I can go for a servlet. So I'm going to get the information from the JSP, that is Java server page front end. So the business logic happens in the servlet. So if I want to store everything in the database, so I'm going to fetch the records. I'm going to put it through an iterator or a for loop and it will be stored in the database. Clear? So this is the main use or an advantage of a for loop. So let me just illustrate. So I'll just show you a simple example. So what is the use of this kind of a for loop? So let me just illustrate. So what is the use of a for loop? So just right click. So if I want to create a new class, so just right click this package. There is an option called new option. So I am just creating a new Java class. So I have to give the name of the class. Say for example, I am giving as loop example. Say for example, I am giving as loop example. So this is the name of my class. So I have to give the corresponding class name and which project it belongs to and the location and the path where I have to place this class. So I am just clicking the finish button. So you can see a public class. So public is the access modifier. So class is the keyword and a class has been created. So loop example, this is the name of the corresponding class. Clear with this? So what is the name of the corresponding class? A public class has been created. So I'm just going to come inside. So I'm going to create a static method. So program execution always starts from the static method. So public static void main. So I'm just creating a main method. So I'm just passing a string array, string of space args. So inside this I'm just coming. So I'm going for a for loop. Say for example, for is the keyword. So int I equal to 0, I less than or equal to 10, I plus plus. So this is the syntax for creating a for loop. And I am giving for a print statement, system.out.println. So I am going to print each and every I value at the output, and it is terminated by a semicolon. So each and every time I am writing some code, so I need to click the save button. Clear with this? So how I am creating a project? So I am just creating, right clicking, I am just creating a new class, and this is how I can go for a for loop. So the first I need to initialize my control variable, semicolon, and then I have to check for some condition. So whatever, how many times I need to execute my for loop. The control variable, it controls the execution of the for loop. So how many times I need to execute this for loop, and I'm finally going for this incrementation section. So I'm going to increment this I variable. So after typing the code, just right click. So there is an option called run file option. Clear? Say for example, so I am starting from 0. So whichever is the initial value, it is taken. So I am checking for some condition. So I less than or equal to 10. The first step is the initialization part. So I equal to 0. And then I am checking for some condition. I less than or equal to 10, semicolon. And then I am incrementing my I value. That is I plus plus. Clear with this? So what is the use of this kind of a for loop? So based on my requirement, so I can go for different types of loops. Say instead of printing in the forward direction, say I want to print in the reverse direction. So I can do so. Say for example, from 10 to 5 I want to print. So for example, I need to give the corresponding value, and I am just decrementing. I am just clicking the save button, and I am running this file. So if I want to print this in the reverse direction, so I can print so like this. Clear with this? So what is the use of this kind of a for loop? So whichever type of functionality I need to perform, so I can perform any kind of functionality. Here, so I have to give the corresponding control variable. Say for example, I less than or equal to 10, and then I am going for the incrementation section. So there is one more type of loop. So it is called as a while loop. There is one more type of loop. The first type of loop is the for loop. And there is one more type of loop. It is called as a while loop. So what do you mean by the while loop? So instead of having, so in case of for loops, I gave you some syntax, right? So in a single line, I am going to perform all the operations. So I am just going to initialize the variable, and then I am going to check for some condition, and finally I am I am going for the incrementation part. So whereas in case of a while loop, so what is the difference between a for loop and a while loop? So in case of a while loop, so I am doing everything in separate steps. So when I don't know the fixed number of iterations, so it is going to vary. So based on my requirement, so I can go for a while loop. So this is the corresponding syntax for a while loop. Clear? So the first section, I am just initializing this variable. So int I equal to 1. And then I am using a while keyword. So while I less than or equal to 10. So I am just checking for a condition. And then I am printing this I value at the output. And then I plus plus. I am just incrementing this I value. The first step is the initialization of a variable. So I have to initialize this variable. And then while keyword, it is used for checking some condition. So in case of for loop, the initialization, the condition and the incrementation, so everything happens in a single step. So whereas in case of while loop, so everything happens in separate lines. So I am checking for a condition while I less than or equal to 10. So I am just printing the I value at the output. And then I am incrementing the I value. So I am just closing this while loop and the main loop and the while example class. Clear with this? So what is the main difference between a for loop and a while loop? So based on my requirement, so I can go for different types of loops. So let me just illustrate. So this is one simple example of using a while loop. So whenever I want to create any type of class, so how I have to create a new Java class? Just right click this package. There is an option called new option. And then I have to go for the class. So I have different options. So I can create a folder, or I can create a Java class, or I can create a Java package interface. So I can create any type of thing. So I'm going for a Java class. Clear? So I have to give the class name. Say for example, I'm giving as while example. So I'm clicking the finish button. And then I'm going for the static method. So public static void main. The argument is passed as a string array. Scope space args. So inside this I am just coming in and I am just initializing this variable int I equal to 1, and I am checking for some condition I less than or equal to 10, and I am giving the print statement system dot out dot println. So if I want to print something at the console, so I have to give this print statement. I am printing this value and then I am incrementing this I value. Clear with this? So this is one simple example of using a while loop. So I need to give the corresponding class name. So public, this is the access modifier. So if I want to create any type of class, I have to go for the class keyword. And then I have to give the name of the class. Say for example, I want to create a for loop, or I want to create a while loop. So whatever type of loops I want to create, so I have to give the corresponding class name. And then I'm coming inside. So I'm creating a main method, public static void main. And I'm passing a string array as an argument. So string of space args. And then I'm initializing this I variable. So int I equal to 1. And while I less than or equal to 10. I have to use the while keyword. So if I'm using a for loop, so I have to go for a for keyword. And if I'm using a while loop, so I have to go for a while keyword. So first I need to initialize the variable and then I'm checking for a condition. And then I'm printing this I value at the output. And I'm incrementing this I value. Clear with this what I'm trying to do here? So right click, there is an option called run file option. So you can see, so I am putting in a for loop. So first I have just initialized the variable. Always the program execution starts from the main method. The JVM, it is going to look at the main method, and the program execution starts from the main method. So the argument is passed as a string array. So I am just initializing this variable. Say for example, int I equal to 1. And then I am using this while keyword. So I am checking for a condition. While I less than or equal to 10. So I am just printing this I value at the output. So I am just initializing the variable. So I am going for a while loop and printing each and every I value at the output. And then I am incrementing. So each and every time, so I am going to print some I value. So I need to increment this I value. Clear with this initialization? So I have to check the condition, and the final step is the incrementation part. So clear with these two type of loops. So what is the use of a loop statement? So whenever I want to repeat a set of instructions, so an iterator or a cyclic kind of a thing, so I can go for this kind of a looping statement. So I have different types of loops. The first type of loop is the for loop. The second type of loop is the while loop. And the third type of loop is the do while loop. Clear? So till this part, so I just discussed with you about two different types of loops. So what do you mean by a for loop and what do you mean by a while loop? So if you are interested, you can go to pantechelearning and you can register for Java Programming Internship Program, JPMC. This is the coupon code. So once you register for the internship, so you'll be getting access to the projects, the recorded videos, so how the projects are being developed, so whatever the lecture notes, the PPTs, so you'll be gaining more practical knowledge. So if you want to, the attendance link will be posted during the live chat. So you need to fill in the attendance. So you have to attend this masterclass for 25 days in order to receive the webinar certificate. And you have to pay ₹100 in order to receive the webinar certificate. And the internship users, they will be receiving the webinar certificate as well as the internship certificate. Alright. So if you are interested, you can go to pantechelearning and you can register for Java Programming Internship Program, JPMC. This is the coupon code. So once you register for the internship, you will be getting access to the recorded videos, the PPTs, the lecture notes, so how the projects are being developed. You will be gaining more practical knowledge. And you have to fill in the attendance form will be posted during the live chat. And you have to attend this masterclass for 25 days in order to receive the webinar certificate, and you need to pay ₹100. And the internship users, they'll be receiving the webinar certificate as well as the internship certificate. Alright. So let me just continue. So I'll give you the confidence. So once you are going to, you're with me, so you can travel with me. So I'll give you more practical examples you can work out. And if you have more doubts, you can mail me, or we can connect through any desk. You can send me the error screenshots and you can clarify your doubts. So let me just continue. So I just started with loop statement. So what do you mean by a looping statement? So if I want a set of instructions to be repeatedly executed for a set number of times, so I can go for a loop statement. Clear? So firstly, I discussed with you about for loop. So what is the main use of a for loop? And then I discussed with you about while loop. So what is the main use of a while loop? There is one more type of loop. It is called as a do while loop. So we have three different types of loops similar to comments. I have single line comments, multi-line comments, and documentation comments. Similarly, I have three different types of loops. First type of loop is the for loop. The second type of loop is the while loop. And the third type of loop is the do while loop. Clear? So what is the main difference? So based on my requirements, so first I need to look at the application. So whatever I have, I am developing some website. So first I need to look at the application, and accordingly I can go for different types of loops. What is the main difference between a while loop and a do while loop? So in case of while loops, I am going to check the condition and I am going to print something. Whereas in case of a do while loop, the condition will be checked at the end. So irrespective of my condition, I want to execute something at least once. So I can go for this kind of a do while loop. Clear? So first I need to look at the type of problem. So for example, I am developing some website. So I want to print some name. Say for example, when I am entering some e-commerce industry, so I need to get the name of the corresponding login person. So each and every time he is entering, by default I should have the login person's name. So in that case, I can go for a do while loop. So irrespective, the first time it is going to enter, a name should appear. So irrespective of the condition, so whether he is a customer login or an admin login, so I should print his name first. So welcome something I need to give. So I can go for a do while loop. So based on my application, so what is the use of all these different types of functionalities available in Java? So yesterday I was discussing with you about different types of comments. So where I can go for a single line comment, or where I can go for a multi-line comment, or where I can go for a documentation comment. So similarly, in which scenario I can go for a for loop, or while loop, or do while loop. So based on my requirements, I can go for different types of loops. So whichever loop suits my problem, so I can go for different types of loops. So this is one simple example of a do while loop. So first the program execution. So I have to give the class name. So I am just giving this as do while example. So if I want to create a for loop, or if I want to create a while loop, so whichever type of loop I want to create, so I have to give the corresponding class name. Say for example, I am giving as do while example. And then I am going for a main method. That is public static void main. And then the argument is passed as a string array. So I'm just initializing the I value. Say for example, int I equal to 1. And then I'm going for a do while loop. So there is a keyword called do keyword. And then I'm printing. So each and every time, so I'm going to print the I value and then I'm going for the incrementation section, I++. And then while the condition will be checked at the end, while I less than or equal to 10. So I'm just closing my main method as well as I'm closing my do while example class method. So clear with this. So what is the main difference between a while loop and a do while loop? So based on my requirement, so when I'm building some larger websites, so I'm developing e-commerce industry. So online trading is going at a very fast rate. So many e-commerce sites are appearing nowadays. So you can go for Amazon, Flipkart. So instead of just visiting a manual, physically going to a store and you're shopping something, so you can buy everything online trading. So buying and selling is increasing at a very fast rate. So when building some bigger applications, so based on my requirements, I can go for different types of loops. So in which situation I have to go for a for loop, or in which situation I have to go for a while loop, or in which situation under what conditions I have to go for a do while loop. So first, let me just show you a simple example. So how to create this do while loop. So I have to right click. So whenever I want to create any new class, I have to right click this package. There is an option called new option. So I am just going to create a new class. I am just giving the name as do while example. So whatever is the name of the class, I have to give the class name and to which project it belongs to. Say for example, under this project, so I want to create this class and I have to specify the path, the entire path where I have to create this class. And then I am clicking the finish button. So you can see with the specified class name, a public class has been created, a do while example class. So I have to use the class keyword and whatever is the corresponding class name, so I have to give the corresponding class name. So I am just creating a main method, public static void main, and then I am passing a string argument. So string of space args. So I can go for a do while loop. Say for example, int I equal to 1. So I can go for a do while loop. Say for example, I want to print this I value at least once. So system dot out dot print ln of I. I'm going to print this I value at least once. And then I'm incrementing this I value. And I'm checking. So finally, so first I'm just going for the do keyword and then I have to check for this condition at the end. So each and every time I'm typing some code, so I need to save this code. So you can see what this code is going to do here. So firstly, I'm just creating a public class. So public is the access modifier. So when I'm going to discuss with the access modifier, so I'll just elaborate this in detail. So what is the main use of this kind of access modifier? So class is the keyword. So when I want to define any kind of class, so I have to go for this class keyword. So I am giving as do while example. So what is the name of the class? So I have to give the class keyword and I have to give the corresponding name of the class. So I am just coming inside this class. So I am just creating a main method. So public static void main and the argument is passed as a string array. The program execution always starts from the main method. So I am just initializing I with the value of 1 and I am going for a do while loop. So I am printing this I value and then I am incrementing. So firstly I am initializing. I am going for a do while loop, do keyword, and then I am printing this I value at the output. So let me just run this code, run file, and finally using the while keyword, so I am just checking the condition at the end. Clear? So what is the use of a do while loop? So what is the main difference between a while loop and a do while loop? So in case of a do while loop, so both the loops function the same. So what is the main difference? So in which scenarios I have to go for a do while loop or a for loop or a while loop? So the main difference between a while loop and a do while loop is, in case of do while loop, the condition will be executed at the end. So instead of the beginning, at the beginning the condition will be executed at the end. So irrespective of my condition, if I want to execute some statement at least once. So as I told you, right, so when I am logging into some portal, so in a banking website I want to log in. So I have to get some welcome message. So irrespective of any people, so if I'm a customer login or an admin or a manager login, so I have to get some name at least once. It should be printed. So I can put it in a do while loop. So I'm going to fetch the record from the database. So I'm going to get some welcome message at least once. So irrespective of the user, so whatever may be the user, irrespective of the condition, I need to print some message at least once. I can go for a do while loop. Clear? So all these are the different types of loops. So loops play a very important, loops is one important concept in Java. So for when I'm building some bigger applications, say website applications, so looping concept. So if I want to store the records, or if I want to delete the records, or if I want to do some updations, so looping concept plays a very important step. So clear till this part, whatever I am discussing, everything is clear. So just take down this task, write a program to print the numbers from 60 to 53 using while loop. Write a program to print the numbers from 60 to 53 using while loop. Write a program to print the numbers from 60 to 53 using while loop. Just take down this task. Write a program to print the numbers from 60 to 53 using while loop. So you are clear with three different types of loops. So what are all the different types of loops? So the next important topic. So I just gave you an introduction to loops. So what do you mean by a looping concept, and what are the three different types of loops? So I can go for a for loop, or I can go for a while loop, or I can go for a do while loop. So next important type of statement is the decision making statement. So this is one more important concept. So next I am going to discuss with you about decision making statement. So what do you mean by a decision making statement? So if I want to execute some statement, if I want to print some statement, if I want to print some, do some operation based on some condition, I can go for a decision making statement. Clear? So based on some decision, so from the name you can just understand. So what do you mean by a looping statement, or what do you mean by a decision making statement? So based on some condition. Say for example, I want to know, so how many people are older people in a crowd. Say for example, in a city, I want to know, so how many people are older people. So I am taking some statistical analysis. So how many people are above age 18? So voting statistics, a person is eligible to vote or he is not eligible to vote. So based on some condition, I want to perform some operation. So I am developing a website kind of a thing. So I want to check for some condition. I can go for a decision making statement. Say for example, so in which situation you can go for this kind of decision making? So from the name you can just understand. So what do you mean by a decision maker? So based on some condition, I want to execute something. So this is going to happen. So if this is true, this is going to happen. Say for example, in a e-commerce website, so if the customer says, if he is going to purchase more than 1,000 rupees, he is going to get a discount of 100. So I want to check for some condition. If the purchase is greater than 1,000, so he is going to, I am getting, so I am from the total amount, bill amount, I am subtracting 100 from my total bill amount. So in such scenarios, I can go for a decision making statement. Here, so all these are important functionalities. So what makes this language so efficient? So when I am developing some websites, you can imagine. So Java language, it is mainly used for developing some web applications. So what is the use of a loop statement, and what is the use of this kind of decision making statement? So from the term you can just understand, what do you mean by a decision making? So based on some decision, I want to perform some operation, I can go for this decision making statement. Clear? So with this I am just stopping today. So if you have any doubts in any of the topics, you can just ask me. So any doubts? So I just gave an introduction to this language. So if you have any doubts, you can just stop me. So if you have any doubts, you can just ask me. If you are interested, you can go to pantechelearning. And you can register for Java Programming Internship Program, JPMC. This is the coupon code. So once you register for the internship, you will be getting access to the recorded videos, the PPTs, the lecture notes, how the projects are being developed. So you'll be gaining more practical knowledge. So please hurry up, the internship offer is going to end soon. And the attendance form will be posted during the live chat. So if you want to receive the webinar certificate, so you have to attend this masterclass for 25 days. So once you attend this masterclass for 25 days, so you will be receiving a free webinar certificate. And the internship users, they will be receiving the webinar certificate as well as the internship certificate. Clear? So if you are interested, you can go to pantechelearning and you can register for Java Programming Internship Program, JPMC. This is the coupon code. So once you register for the internship, so you'll be getting access to the recorded videos, the PPTs, the lecture notes, how the projects are being developed. So you'll be gaining more practical knowledge. So once you register, so in order to receive, so the attendance will be posted during the live chat. So you have to fill in the attendance, 25 days mandatory, in order to receive the webinar certificate. So you have to pay ₹100 in order to receive the webinar certificate, and 25 days attendance is mandatory. And the internship users, they will be receiving the webinar certificate as well as the internship certificate. So everything is clear. So till this part, whatever I am discussing, everything is clear to everybody. Any doubts in the topics? So everything is clear. So I just gave an introduction to looping statements. So what are all the different types of looping statements? And then I started with decision making statements. So what do you mean by a decision making statement? Everything is clear. So till this part, whatever I have discussed, everything is clear. If you have any doubts, you can just ask me. Any doubts? So if you have any doubts, you can just ask me. Alright then, no more doubts. So remaining things, we will see tomorrow, same time,